Same as yesterday, I'm pretty busy today, so I'll just do a quick piece that I would not have otherwise been able to make, and to give you something for the meantime until I'm fully back there and can do some more math and stuff. Today we're talking about the new acutally. So acutally got a buff last patch, and the buff sounded pretty strong at first on paper. I was actually fairly certain that she's gonna perform drastically better, and I apologize. I am now pretty sure that I was probably wrong about what I said there, because there was one major thing that I didn't know. Now, the changes to Kali consisted of 3 different things. 2 of them were listed in the patch notes, 1 wasn't. They all affect the same ability, they all affect Kali's passive, Marked for Death. And the first one that is an obvious buff is, if your target dies, the next target closer to it will be the mark. This is a buff and nothing but a buff. I don't think there's anyone who would reason that a random selection of the next target would be better than the closest target, unless the enemy team is somehow able to get someone close to you that you cannot kill and manipulate it that way. But it's so unlikely for that to happen that I'd say that is just straight up a buff. You can just go from one target to the next, just snowball on as soon as you have killed the first one. So that's, in short, 99% a buff. Then there was a change that allowed you to pick your target at the start of the game as well as whenever you died. This seems like a buff at first as well. You can freely choose your own target, making it less random. The whole system has now gotten some structure, allowing you to choose what you want to do, have your own strategical approach to who you want to attack first, who you think is very gankable, for example, taking the target with low mobility or stuff like that, taking the enemy jungler if you're looking for boxing, taking the enemy solo laner if you think you can get a very early kill, or even if you're playing Kali in solo lane, just take your lane opponent and look for the trades with them directly. All of that makes perfect sense, so if you look at it that way, it sounds like a buff. And that in combination, to me, sounded like she was actually in a much better place. Now obviously, this is very easy to overrate. If you snowball, then obviously you're going to be strong as Kali. If you don't snowball, you're not going to be much stronger than before. Yeah, you have the chance to get another kill after getting the first kill, but if your team is falling behind and you're hardly getting any kills at all, and you have to back out whenever you get a pick, even if you are full health, then all these changes don't matter that much. I would still say that in that regard, she should be placed higher than before. She's no longer as low pick priority as she was before that, because it's just a nice benefit, taking away some of the random aspect of the god. However, there was another change that was not announced in the patch notes, and that is that the marked target actually gets notified about being marked. And that is, in my opinion, more of a nerf than parts of what her buff were as a buff. I would still say that, like, as an individual part, the part where she gets a closer target is a buff that makes the whole change as a whole more of a buff than a nerf to her. But the fact that the enemy target gets notified about being picked easily makes up for the buff to her that was allowing you to choose the target. Because it's great when you can figure out who to take and who's easy to pick. But it's much more of a downside, in my opinion, when your target knows already that you're looking to pick them. I was playing against the Scylla. Unfortunately, in this game, this footage is older because somehow the footage got glitched. Sorry about that. And this Scylla was playing very, very defensively. And I was irritated because usually, especially with Scylla, you can go a little deeper as she has an escape as well. But this Scylla just wouldn't come out of her tower, basically, clear from there, and then just disappear somewhere in the jungle with her jungler. And I was like, what's going on? Like, why is she playing so safe? She must have guessed that I marked her. She must have been just really smart about it. And that's why she played so safe, and that's why I couldn't get her. Well, that wasn't actually the case. Maybe it was the case too, but in the end, she just knew that she was marked. And that's why she stayed on the tower, because she knew whenever I was going to get close to middle, she would get ganked. She probably had extra wards out just to make sure that I would not be able to get to her. And she was able to save farm and then eventually, win the enemy team the game. And I never got the chance to pick her. I then later on chose other targets that I was able to pick, but with them always knowing, it was a fair bit of a problem. Prior to this change, when you couldn't pick your own target, your target wouldn't know that they are. This, in my opinion, was actually a lot more helpful, because while you couldn't choose your target, you could then, depending on which target you got, choose to gank that very lane more often. And if the enemy hadn't figured out that they are the target by then, you would have had a good chance at killing them, especially because you get benefits against the market target that allowed you to basically shred through everyone, even when it was the warrior in solo or the support in duo. It wasn't much of a problem because the mark target was always a relatively easy kill for you. Now, with the mark target knowing about it, I don't think there's any easy kill anymore. Especially when you keep in mind that Kali doesn't have the best early in the first place. If she had a really strong early game, then the potential with the new mark would still be good because you could play mind games and gank other lanes instead, where it's not expected that you would gank, and then the mark target wouldn't really, you know, pay the same amount of attention to their own lane maybe because you were too worried looking for you and stuff like that. That would be great. But with Kali not being a threat early, there's not much benefit in ganking other lanes either. The best possible outcome for Kali is always getting a kill on her target. Kills on other targets are obviously great as well, they always give you gold and all that kind of stuff. But with her early game being relatively rough, you're usually better off just trying to farm as much as possible, not look for ganks on other people that are not your target, and then eventually try to work from there. And as such, the mark is pretty much almost useless early on now that the enemy know about. It just gives them more of a warning than beforehand, making it harder for Kali to get that early snowball going. Later in the match, she is better. In the late game stage where you get team fights and all that stuff going on, Kali is better now because she can go from target to target. But her early game, in my opinion, judging from the factors that we have here, is actually weaker than before. Which is weird because if you look at the numbers or the changes at first rather, then it seems like the opposite. But this unannounced change to Kali actually changes a lot about how this buff should be perceived and how much potential it actually has, in my opinion. There are other things in this patch that obviously help Kali, especially the buff to Stone Cutting Sword. Making that cheaper when it's a core item on Kali will always be good for her. People have also experimented around with Heartseeker on her. I haven't really tried that yet, but I heard some quite good results from it so far. I will test myself and do some numbers about that and figure it out. But in the end, I would say Kali may be stronger than before. She is definitely not as strong as I thought she would be, not as high on the tier list as I placed her and all that stuff, simply because of the unannounced changes. So I'm hoping for future patches in general that the changes get announced, and even if they don't make it into the patch notes video, it would be nice to see them in the written patch notes afterwards, at least by the time that the patch actually hits live. So we actually know about what's happening. With that, this video is coming to a closure. Once again, if you don't know about this yet, I'm going to do a Halloween stream on Monday. It will be a longer stream. I'll be starting earlier. I will be giving away a digital loot pack. Yep, that's the one from last year with Zeus and stuff. And after that, I'll be streaming on Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'm applying for my Twitch partnership that week. So starting on Halloween, if you want to help me out, please stop by. And we will do some fun stuff that week. I'll tell you more later on. Until then, thank you guys for watching. See you on the video tomorrow. dicuss, SLOTH, out.